Hello, hello. Establish your business, protect your name, and keep your profits. Hi there, this is Tammy Shiambade, creator of Ask Tammy Live, and I'm so glad that you decided to join me today. Today what we're going to be talking about is how to start your business from the legal side. See, I get this question all the time, and recently I was having a conversation with one of my friends, and what she expressed to me was just wanting to know that she does it the right way. And I think that's what everyone wants to know. I think people want to figure out, how do I make sure I don't mess up on the legal side of starting my business? And so if that's you, this video is for you. Now, I have broken this into 7 simple steps, but I think overall, before we get into any of those, is that you need to make sure you've done the research. See, starting a business is a lot of hard work, and it really takes time, focus, and energy. And so the first thing, before we get into my 7 legal steps, is really doing the research that you need in order to understand the landscape of the industry you desire to join. All right? So let's continue on. Let's jump into those 7 things that I think you need in order to start your business from the legal side. The first thing that I think is super important is making sure you choose a great name. Now, when we talk about choosing a great name, we're talking about one that can stand the test of time. But not only that, see, a lot of times entrepreneurs, when they're thinking about choosing a great name, they're thinking, what can I market? What can I remember? What sounds good to me? What reflects what I love? And all of those things are great questions, but I don't want you to start there. When you're thinking about choosing a name for your business, I want you to think of 2 things. I want you to make sure, of course, that it's marketable. So that entails making sure it's memorable, making sure it connects with your consumers and your customers. But I also want you to start thinking about whether it's a name that you can protect. What do I mean by a protectable name? I'm talking about trademark law. I'm talking about the different things that allow you to take advantage of the opportunities the law has for you. Okay? So you want to make sure that your name is both marketable and protectable. The second thing that I think you need to think about when you are starting your own business is you want to make sure you're thinking about choosing the right business entity. Now, a lot of people have heard of the LLC. That's just one option. You want to make sure that based off of your purpose, based off of the products or services that you're providing, based off of your projected income from this business, that you're choosing the right entity. Your choices typically are the sole proprietorship, the LLC, the corporation, or the S Corp. There are also nonprofit corporations as well as limited liability partnerships, but we usually stay away from those, and I can talk about that more later. But generally speaking, you want to make sure that you choose the right entity for your specific situation. Some businesses are open to more owners and therefore require a different type of ownership than someone who's owning a business and running it by themselves. Also, one of the things that you keep in mind is the level of risk associated with the business. These are all factors that influence which entity you choose. The third thing that I want you to think about, third thing I want you to do when you are starting your business is I want you to make sure you get your tax ID number. What is your tax ID number? Super important to help you with the biggest step of, opening your bank account. But it's not only that. It's almost like an identification number that allows people to connect with you in a tax perspective without you exposing your social security number. This number is going to come in handy when you're opening up your bank account. It's also going to be really valuable to you when you're hiring people. It's going to be valuable to you as well when you are deciding, when you're trying to maybe seek donations if you're a nonprofit corporation, and when you're paying your taxes. All right, so you're definitely going to want to get your tax ID number as soon as possible. All right. The next thing that I want you to do, we've kind of touched on it, right? This is our 4th step. So I want you to open up a bank account. Now, I know that so far I've been talking about these things and you're probably thinking, hey, this doesn't really sound like legal steps, but actually they are, because each of these things are protecting an area of the law where you could be at risk. So with regards to opening up a bank account, the reason why that's super important is it's more likely that if you're forming a business, you've either formed an LLC or a corporation or a limited liability partnership. And if you formed any of those types of entities, you're going to want to make sure that your books are on point. That means that you are keeping your personal assets separate from your business assets. That means the things that the business owns are completely separate from what you own. You want to make sure that you are staying on top of that and it's crystal clear to everyone. And one way to do that is by opening up a bank account that is separate, a separate business account. And guess what? Because you've gotten your tax ID number in step number 3, you're able to do that. All right, so you want to make sure that you have this separate account so that your numbers with regards to the income that you're receiving and your expenses are kept separately. This will also help you come tax time because you won't have to deal with trying to separate these two things later on. All right, so you want to keep these numbers separate. All right, the next thing that you want to do is you want to make sure you have the right licenses and permits. So different businesses require different types of licenses. This is often where it gets really in the nitty gritty depending on your business and depending on the way you're choosing to run your business. For example, if you're choosing to have an actual brick and mortar shop, well then of course you're going to have to make sure that you have the right permits with regards to the building that you're either inhabiting or constructing, right? But then there are also things like sales tax, for example. You want to make sure that you get your sales tax license if you're expecting to buy and sell physical, tangible products, especially here in Texas. It's really important. And so you want to make sure that you have the licenses that are required for your particular business. Again, for example, if you're opening a home healthcare business, right, there is a license that is required for that. Depending on the type of professional service that you're providing, there may be a license that is required. I don't know if you can see it, but I have my Texas bar license here on the wall because it is a license that is required for me to operate this type of business. I hope I've been making myself really clear. I hope that these tips are helping you, but we're almost there. We're almost at the end, all right? The next thing that I want you to do is I want to make sure that you have registered to pay your taxes. Now, of course, your federal taxes is something that comes along, when you start a business, sometimes you have to pay your taxes quarterly. But there's also a local tax that you might be required to pay. For example, in Texas, you have a required franchise tax, and that is required for any LLC or corporation that has been created. Now, let me tell you a little secret. Lean in, lean in. All right, so sometimes you don't have to pay an actual amount if your income is under the annual threshold. Now, that's for many people don't make the threshold. I think this year it might be $1 million plus. Can't remember if it's 6 figures or 7 figures. But if your business doesn't hit that number, well, guess what? You're not required to pay that annual franchise tax. But you are required to still fill out an annual report. All right? But you have to make sure that you understand the systems that are in place to help you do so annually. And that's what I mean with regards to signing up and making sure you're registering to pay your taxes. All right? But the last step for you is you want to make sure that you are protecting your intellectual property. And what do I mean? I mean you're registering your trademarks. You're protecting them. Now, one of the things that I'm really interested in is helping people build businesses that stand the test of time. And one of the important ways to do that is to really invest in protecting your intellectual property. One example of your intellectual property is your trade name, your business name. The things that you have created that identify you as the source of the product or the service that you give to the world. You want to make sure that you are protecting your intellectual property as quickly as possible. The reason why is the faster you grow, the bigger the target is on your back for people to come and copy you. So that's one reason why you want to protect your intellectual property. The other reason is as you're trying to protect yourself, you want to make sure that you are not infringing on someone else. See, this is a huge problem that I've seen. I've seen a ton of people, and it goes back to our step number 1, right? Choosing the protectable name. Now you've chosen the protectable protectable name, you're wanting to actually protect it. A lot of people I have found go into their business without taking care of this step. And so either they didn't do an actual thorough clearance check at the beginning when they were choosing the name. And so later on down the line, they find out that they're actually infringing on someone else's rights. Or you have an instance where someone has other people trying to copy them, but they're not able to take advantage of the protections that trademark law provides because they haven't registered their trademarks. And so I don't want you to be in that step. I think that this is a critical step. But I actually think all 7 of the steps we've talked about today, 8 if you count the research that I spent the first few minutes talking about, I think that all of these steps are critical to ensuring that your business is built on a strong foundation. See, my name is Tammy Shiambade, and I created this channel and the Ask Tammy Live show because I want to help you establish your business, protect your name, and keep your profits. Now, if you've watched this whole video and you have found it to be extremely helpful to you, feel free to subscribe to this channel. I'm going to make sure I keep bringing you content that helps and that really puts you ahead of the game. All right? Also, go out and check www.toslegal.com. There you'll find lots of other resources, and you'll be able to connect with me, find out what I'm doing, and see how I may be able to help you on this journey towards building a business that lasts. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Till the next time. Bye.